What's up, everybody? What's going on? Wow, that was a heck of a Serie A opening season. We see all of the major teams come away with 3 points. Something to be said about that. Immediately, I'm thinking like maybe there's a little bit disparity, and I think that is definitely how I was feeling going into this season. Was that we saw the big guys have such great mercati. Their windows were fantastic. We see Di Maria added, Declan added to Milan, to Inter. They get Lukaku back. So there's already the big guys adding up, whereas the smaller ones have been relatively inactive in the market. We haven't seen too many notable players come to the bottom half of the table, and I think that's going to be a theme throughout this Serie A season, is that these guys, they're going to continue to take big points and to suffer a lot throughout the big clubs. So what you'll see is a consolidation of power, where beating the small guys will become so important, because that's where so much of the ground will be made up. In the comments, let me know which games that you thought were the best so far of match day one. I was at Roma Club New York. It was a lot of fun there. A bit of just tourists are back. And what that brings is an interesting dynamic, because so many more people, rather than just like 8 or 10 people going crazy. It was quite a lot of us. A lot of people having pizzas and spritz and like that, and hanging out. So that was really cool to see. I just thought that some of these games got a little crazy. Like the Napoli match was a lot of fun to look back on. Milan-Udinese, the Juventus match, I thought lacked a little bit. Like Allegri, yeah, he gets 3 goals, and typically his teams don't do that. But on top of all the games that I watched, I thought the Napoli one was really, really exciting. But I'm going to go through all of them. You can see the scores below, just how all the teams did. So we see even one like Fiorentina-Cremonese. I was really surprised to see Cremonese put 2 past Fiorentina. So maybe some questions regarding their defensive structure. So Milan-Udinese starts off with Rodrigo Becao off the corner. He's now scored 5 against Milan. Then Theo Hernandez scores from the spot. Rebic then answers to give the go-ahead to Milan, shooting just above the keeper's box. Adam Messina then scores on his debut for Udinese to level it. And then Brahim Diaz picks it up off of some bad defending there from Udinese. And then Rebic gets another. It was a really good game from Rebic. You can see the difference on him when he plays, when he's fully fit. He really is a good player, strong, a guy who has an eye for a goal. I think that sometimes he's been used not in his regular position by Pioli, but now you're seeing that definitely improve. So I think you're going to get a big season from him. It's like having a new signing. For the Juventus match, for their first goal, yes, Juve is a solid team there, Sammy. Let me put that up there. And their defense is weak. Definitely questions. Like, can Bremer coexist with Bonucci? What will the chemistry be? Especially Bremer coming from the back 3 and now into Juric's back 3 and now into a highly organized line of 4 under Allegri. So good shout there, Sammy. So for the first goal, Di Maria gets a pretty nice volley. It's like a changeup. He definitely didn't intend to do that. If you go back and watch those highlights, that was some trickery on his part that I don't think he planned to do. Vlahovic gets a penalty kick. The Sassuolo defender was all over him. I think it was Ferrari, and he got a yellow for that. And Vlahovic made a great penalty kick off of that. And then for Juventus' third goal, Vlahovic combines very nicely with Di Maria, who puts him in straight on goal, just a couple feet from the keeper. What distinguished about that, though, was that Vlahovic scored with his right foot. From all the stats I've run and that I've seen, Vlahovic scores, I think, like more than 90% with his left foot. It's a staggering sum. So last season, I think he scored only like 2 goals with his right foot. The others were mostly his left and a couple headers. So that's something to watch there, how Vlahovic is going to combine with Di Maria. But now, if you've been reading the news, as of today, it looks like Di Maria has a issue with his left adductor. And those things can be pretty annoying, especially as you get older. Question, people out there, how's the audio coming in? Just curious. I switched something up today. I'm always saying like I'm switching something up. But today I switched up one of the settings through StreamYard. So I'm just wondering how it's coming in for you. On to the Inter match. They were pretty underwhelming. I was really surprised to see Lecce get so much control of that game, and they really took it to them. Like, they don't really have too many game changers on that team. Strefezza is a decent little player, but even him with Di Francesco, they really struggled. But they did a good job, and they put up a good fight. Thanks, Sammy. But then Inter win at the death. It's their quality. I think it was the 94th minute off of a corner. Inter grabs it from Dumfries, who had a pretty good game. So everyone's getting big points here, especially as we move on to Verona-Napoli. Lasagna gets the go-ahead. This was in Verona, so Napoli was traveling. So as soon as Lasagna hit that goal, though, Napoli hit another gear. There was then a headed goal by Napoli's new forward from Georgia, Kvaratskhelia, or we're just going to call him Kvara. That's his nickname. And then Osimhen scores off a corner with his right foot just before halftime. Then Verona equalized with a great cross from Faraoni, who meets his player who scores very nicely. That was a very nice cross from Faraoni. He's a quality player. I'm surprised that he is still at Verona this season. Then the Georgian Kvara puts in a great through ball on the left flank to put Zielinski in on goal, who finishes it. And then Lobotka scores a great goal after a run going right through the heart of Verona's defense. He wasn't really being covered that much, and he puts it away very nicely. And Politano scores a signature goal of his with his left foot, and it ends up 2-5. So big win, or for 2-5, right? Yeah, 2-5. Away win for Napoli. So there was a lot of pressure on them. I think if you look compared to fans' opinions, even Napoli fans, from a month ago compared to today, now it looks like they've got Ndombele. So they've stacked up pretty nicely. They've really rebuilt, where the majority of these guys are under, I think, excluding Ndombele, are under the age of 26. So they've prepped themselves. They're creating a nice base for the next 3 to 4 years, and then they can add from there, and they can, plan to get back into the Champions League, or at least have a strategy, right, without overspending, but spreading out the Euros pretty proportionately. So I expect Napoli to play pretty well together, especially because you can't forget they have a really good coach in Spalletti. So it's all there for them to do. But we move on to the Roma match. Roma makes their way south to Salernitana. You know how the score ends up. You know that Mourinho buys 60 pizzas for the entire team, and they head back to Rome on the train. That's a pretty nice ride from if you're taking Italo from Salerno into Napoli and then straight into Rome. So it's very pretty, mountainous, farms on the way. It's cool stuff. So one of the questions entering into this match was, does Mourinho start the Fab Four? And he did, right? And you see Pellegrini take that more withdrawn role in midfield. He did it very well. At times, he lost the ball. I think two errors he made. But otherwise, I thought he held his own next to Cristante, very much so. And mentioning the defensive midfielder, he has been so good and important to Mourinho's tactics. And he gets the goal so well-deserved. You can see what it meant to him and to his teammates. They all rush around him. Semi says, Pellegrini improved in his transitions between defense and midfield, which for me was the main issue last year. Too much time used to be wasted struggling to transition into the attack. He did that very nicely, I thought, in between the lines. So he was playing slightly more advanced than Cristante there, and his role was really not dissimilar from how Mkhitaryan played last season, as like this hybrid regista, someone who is meant to, if he could get the ball, or once the defensive midfielder collects it, be the first option and then spread it around the field from there. So I thought he did a really good job at that. Spinazzola gets his first start in God knows when, so it's excellent to see him back, and he had a great game. Giallorossi created a lot of chances, people. Something like almost 3 expected goals. And you know that those XGs on another day, they could have very well been some great goals there. But they're still shaking off the cobwebs, working out the kinks this side, and that's to be expected. It is a year of growth, such as last year, but this year I think is a little different in that they're taking the next step. I want to read some quotes here as well from Mourinho from his post presser. Okay, he says, I liked everything that I saw. Obviously, I would have been even happier to not have any worries if the scoreline had been 4-0 or 5-0. But nonetheless, I enjoyed watching a team that, even if they did not score the goals they should have done, showed the maturity and the know-how to see out the game. Usually, in this sort of game where you are in position to score 4 or 5 goals and you don't, things end up finishing badly and you pay the price. But it didn't finish badly and we didn't suffer, because those who came on when Tammy, Zaniolo, and Dybala were tired did not come on to kill the game, but to manage it. And I think that last line here, but to manage it, is such a big difference, because even when they were up 1 goal, typically I'm not so calm at the half when Roma are up 1 goal. I'm like, okay, well, it may as well just be 0-0 because you don't know what you're going to get. But I did feel that the maturity of this side, just the way that they were handling the ball and playing, was at a different pace, a different linking up with one another compared to last season. And I was not concerned at all. Really just felt comfortable. He goes on, the way Matic and Wijnaldum came on and helped the team ensured it was a relatively comfortable finish to the game. If you're asking me if I would like to be able to change forwards at that level with other forwards at the same level, then that's something only the likes of Man City, Liverpool, and a few Italian teams can do. Is he referencing Belotti here? Well, he's referencing his need for another center forward, regardless of who it is, because we did see that once Abraham came off, Dybala was pushed into the number 9 role, something that's not so typical, not Mourinho tactic based with a hold-up forward, someone who can play with their back to goal. So not ideal for him. He said, obviously the Salernitana side are very different from last season. They have a lot more talent. This week they signed 2 new starters. Give them a few weeks, and Salernitana will have a very good side. I'm pleased. Perhaps one of you will write that Zaniolo and Dybala could have scored 2 or 3 goals, but I only saw that both of them had great games. Even today, I saw like some person on Twitter made a not collaboration, but a video that they put together. They put all the clips together, a little montage of Zaniolo messing up against Salernitana. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, you just wait, because once that kid gets on and he gets a little bit more confidence in front of goal, that's the difference, right? It's just a foot off. He was a foot off just 3 times. So once Zaniolo hits that net, I don't think he's going to stop firing. To me, he was the most impressive person on the pitch, definitely. Like, the way that he was linking up immediately with Dybala, to me, was something special. There are questions of could he coexist? Is he a big-time player? Or is he just, the negative press will say, like, oh, he's a diva, or he dives, or he's really not all that good, and they laugh at the price tags that they see on in tabloids, like, oh, Roma wants this, blah, blah, blah. All that is, push that away for a second. Zaniolo is proving that he's going to be a great player. More importantly, I think this is going to be his breakout season. Will says, I love the Mourinho-Matic partnership. Yes, Will, an underrated subplot of this season is Matic reuniting with Mourinho. And when he comes in, the midfield was calm. This was not the type of substitution that Roma fans are accustomed to, where you get kind of like this mediocre type guy who comes in to fill the gaps. For some reason, Marquinhos popped into my head just now. A guy who was Brazilian when Marquinhos also played for Roma. But it's a different quality, and he brings this calming presence to the midfield, and ultimately it helps Roma, and it will help Roma. It'll continue to help them stabilize games, sit back, absorb pressure, and then hit teams on the counter when they don't expect it, or at least when they're too far forward, and to surprise them. So, yes, that was a very good one. So Zaniolo, Dybala, I thought he would look great. His first official game, his first official start. The kid was looking to get on the ball every time. We see Abraham being man-marked so much, and that what that did was by them taking Abraham out of the game, well, you can't cover every single threat that Roma has in their attacking arsenal, so Dybala was able to get on the ball so much more. I thought he did a really good job. Of course, he didn't get the goal, but just as the way with Zaniolo, those things will come. They're still shaking off the cobwebs, getting used to playing together. Harmony takes time. So just, I would say to every fan who's like getting frustrated, just be patient. But I think most of us are. And the proof is there. And what a good feeling after that game for Roma fans. So looking into next weekend, who is it? Is it Cremonese? I believe it is on Monday. So Roma gets the Monday match. That should be a unique one. And then the following one will be against Juventus. I believe that's on a Sunday. I've got some comments here also from Spinazzola. And he says, these are the questions. I'm trying to translate on the fly here. I don't have it in English. The journalist asks, how should you get better? Like, how can they grow? And he says, we have to keep the ball a little bit more. In the first half, we didn't run as good as we could have. We didn't play as good as we could have. With the quality that we have, we must do so much better. In the first half, we could have easily been up 3-0. Journalist asks, "How are you, Spinazzola?" And he says, "I'm good. Slowly, I'm retaking my form, and I'm happy." And the second half. In the second half, I had a lot more space because they finally attacked. In the first half, they were very closed. In the second half, I felt good. And at the end, my legs were andavano, going. They were moving. He felt comfortable. Che aria senti intorno a te? How do you feel inside yourself right now? When you win a trophy and new players come in with quality that raise the level and help us get better. Il traguardo è ancora presto per parlare. It's still too soon to talk about things. We must look ahead and know that we have to get better a lot. We have to really improve. When you feel strong and against every adversary, you play calmly, tranquillamente. You're comfortable without like hesitation. Tranquillamente doesn't automatically translate. Anyway, so big comments there from Mourinho, from Spinazzola. It's so good to see him back. Karsdorp, I thought, had a great game. Some fans disagreed with me, but I thought even at the end that Karsdorp was looking for the goal, a very athletic performance. He showed that maybe there's a little bit more fire under his butt now that he has some competition with Selic, who did not see the pitch. So Karsdorp, full 90 minutes, 94 minutes. So good stuff from him. Wijnaldum comes in. He almost gets the goal if Dybala was just a nose onside. But that would have been something really good. And he offers a different type of threat. So in the midfield of two, let's take the double pivots for 1 second. Last match, the match we're talking about today, match day 1, it started with Pellegrini and Cristante. But being able to switch that up from Matic and Wijnaldum and even Bove is a big deal. There's a lot more threat and there's a lot more defensive stability. So like they've improved. If we go from Oliveira and Veretout, there's a jump. There's definitely so much more quality based in this side right now. Onto the Mercato, it's going to be strange. So this one does not end until September 1st. Of course, Roma and Serie A will be 4 match days in at that point. What that means is the big guys, who I think will continue to spend, will have a little bit more time to adjust their team. If players go down, they can go and plug in the gaps. Sharma, yeah, you know it. I got this, what is this called? An Audio Technica ATR 2500. I like this thing a lot. Sharma, one thing I also did was I took off the settings. There's like an echo cancellation thing, and I unchecked that, and I think that it seems to be making a little bit of a difference. Sharma, we were talking about your Inter, and I said that they looked a little lackluster with the way that Lecce was handling them in the second half. But Dumfries, man, how lucky Inter is to have a player like him. There were, if I'm not incorrect, there were some whispers or some mentioning that Dumfries would be bought by another team, but I didn't think that made sense at all. He seems to be finding himself very well. I think there's something to be said about Dutch players doing really well in Serie A. I'm thinking like Wesley Sneijder, hopefully Wijnaldum, Dumfries. So I think they bring a little bit of a different dynamic where you look at many of these games and they look slow. So one thing that I've started to watch this season is the Premier League. I know I feel like I'm getting a lot of boos right now, but the Premier League is extremely entertaining. I look at these teams, even in the mid to the bottom half, like they're still going for it. They're so athletic. And when I compare that against the average, turn it on anytime, Serie A match, it's like a chess match. Everyone's like, I'm gonna go here. Okay, well I'm gonna go back. And they're constantly like chipping at away from one another. When you watch the Premier League though, and you get these guys from all over the world, and you get these total Dutch football tactics, because really they are the inventors of that type of tactic. It's just a different thing. So I think that, Joseph says, glad we kept him. Yeah, bet you are with Dumfries. That mentality just brings a different threat that Italian managers are going to have to try to adjust to, but also embrace in their own planning, because we see that even on the international level, Italy struggles. But I don't want to go off on a tangent. Please keep the comments coming in. So I'm going to try to keep these under 30 minutes. We're at 21 now. The headlines are today's news has been kind of quiet. I think most of the stuff is on Di Maria. And if I go back to one of my sources here, that's the prep that they're getting ready for. Still decisive days for Belotti if you're to read the tabloids. Kluivert, let's see what happens with him. I think that's a space to watch. Speaking of Dutch players, Justin Kluivert, who I thought maybe would have had a bit more of a chance under Mourinho, but it looks like El Shaarawy will be sticking around after there were some questions on his future. I remember some tabloid came up about him going to Genoa a couple weeks ago. Solbaken's name comes back up in the news. You might remember Solbaken for scoring a couple goals against Roma from Bodo Glimt, the team north of the Arctic Circle. Another one here, Matic together with Radovanovic. You could see them after the game. Two Serbians getting together there. Otherwise, you've got Ferragosto, so a lot of the Italians are enjoying some time off. Dybala is in Capri. Vigna and Ibanez went to the Amalfi Coast, and the players are all over the place enjoying their time right now. That's what's going on. Like I said, I think that player from Napoli is a really interesting guy. I think Declatare at Milan is another one. So even though we have seen a lot of young players and prospects leave this season, and there is some negativity, read on goal.com, that Serie A is now the Serie B, that the quality of the league has gone down so much. But at the same time, I see hopefulness. I see that the big teams have stadium plans, including Milan and Roma. I don't think that anybody who buys Milan is thinking of holding them without legitimate stadium plans. Roma will be looking to move. They'll be changing sponsors, kits. They're going to keep growing. Napoli will eventually get sold, I think, to a more corporate type of holding rather than De Laurentiis, and they'll get more commercial. Unfortunately, some fans don't like that, but that is great for the growth of the league. So I see some bright spots for sure. It's not all doom and gloom. And at the end, Italian teams have to be doing good in Europe. They just have to get back into winning ways there, take it a little bit more seriously, stop this provincial campanilismo that we see between them when it comes to ducking out of European tournaments because they just want to have a better spot in the league. So it's going to take, I think, overall just a bit more international investment. Fans don't want to hear that, but more of a commercial aspect with outside vendors and ownerships that take things more seriously from a financial perspective. But let's keep an eye on these prospects, these guys coming up. And on Roma's terms, a kid like Bove. I mean, what a success story coming from the Primavera. He's going to have a breakout season, I think, as well. He will definitely be used as the fifth midfielder for Roma right now. So, guys, I think this was a great one. Thanks for the comments. Like, subscribe, share, all that crap that podcasters say. All right. Talk to you soon. Oh, wait. We've got one. I've always felt Lazio and Napoli are guilty of that in Europe. Yes, they are. Napoli, we're looking at you. Not you so much, Lazio. We know what you're made of. But Napoli, we know you got to go and do your thing. Now is the time. You got the players. You got the depth. You got the young legs. Ciao, guys. Talk to you before the match against Cremonese over the weekend. Probably Sunday night.